Hello, everybody. My name is Spencer, and I am joined by my friend Delaney. And while you don't
Hello,
know
everybody.
who the hell we are just two dudes who really like watching movies. And this past October 2025, we set out to try to watch 31 horror movies over the course of the month. Now, we couldn't get through 31, but we did get through 27. And today, November 1st, 2025, at least as of recording, we are going to be going through and putting them all in a tier list. Now, I'm sure you weird motherfuckers on the internet know what a tier list is. If you don't, why the hell are you watching this video? And what the hell have you been doing with your life? But the way this is going to work is we have all of our movies down here, which I will read out here in a sec. And our tiers S, A, B, C, D, F. Obviously, if something's on the lower end of the tier list, we like it less. Keep in mind, this is just our opinions, and if you disagree with us, you're wrong and will be thrown directly into the sun because our opinions are objective fact. So,
So said Son of God, Jesus H. Christ.
yes, and therefore, if you have an issue with it, suck our dicks. Um,
See, I wasn't gonna say that, but you know what, fair enough.
the movies we watched in order, starting on the 4th of October, because we got a little bit of a late
Why
start.
don't we just start ranking and then we'll explain each movie as we go?
Yeah, fair enough. I was just gonna read them all out, but well,
I,
let's.
I just I feel like that would cause too much clutter. That's all.
Okay. Then let's get started with the first movie we watch being Nope. By Jordan Peele.
A Jordan Peele film.
Yes, a Jordan Peele film. How we feeling about Nope, Delaney? Is the first movie we
I
watched on this little escapade.
I thoroughly enjoyed Nope. Nope is a movie that I very much enjoyed watching, and it had its nice moments of levity with the Hollywood Haywood hair, and then Angel, I think, was the other guy.
Angel.
Uh, mhm. All trying to figure out this alien while also leaving a lot of the creepy sort of perspective. It's a lot about perspective, which was very interesting. Like the idea of a bad miracle with the like shoe standing and Gordy event, and everything being at 613 with Sean Young.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I
think I think it was a very good film.
I also thoroughly enjoyed Nope. I think we started off strong, and an A tier would work well
It's a
for Nope.
strong A tier.
It's not my favorite in the sense of one thing you all will learn is I'm much more of a fan of like true, like, I don't want to call
He
it
he
pure
like he
horror,
likes
but
the
like
suspenseful horror
I
specifically.
like the horror that's actually scary. And Nope just didn't really give me much of that
This
scare factor.
this is the same guy who watched Hereditary and said that wasn't scary at all. So
Yes.
that
To be
that
fair,
that's that's that's
I need
the
to rewatch Hereditary, but that's
I know,
besides the
but
point.
it's for fun.
Um, but Nope, very well made, very well acted. I appreciate a lot of what they did. And it had good horse actors in it, and of course Stephen Ewan. You can't go wrong with Stephen Ewan. He's great. I think a strong A tier. So the next movie we watched, on October 5th of this year, was The Descent, the movie about the British people going into a cave in the Appalachian wilderness and getting attacked by fucking weirdos, is the best way I can describe it.
Cave people,
Cave people, yeah.
horrible blind cave people.
And I'll be honest, I really enjoyed The Descent. We watched the US version, so with the happy ending. Also, I should specify spoilers for these movies, but if you're watching this, you should know that already.
I was
Uh,
gonna say, to be fair, if you're watching a movie tier list video and expecting not to have spoilers, you know, I applaud your ability to stay off the internet that long.
um, but The Descent, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt it was really creepy, very suspenseful at times. I really liked um, the lead actress. I can't remember her name, but I thought she did a really good job. I
Mhm.
know I talked about it when we watched the movie, but I really appreciate their use of color and how like they use different colored lights depending on the scene. So like some scenes when the two girls are hiding from the monstrous cave people, they have like that glowing green stick, and then the flares are red, and the torch is this bright orange. And I think the use of color was just really interesting and added a lot to a movie set in a cave, which we'll get to another one which I think did not do as well with their use of color. I will say, as a fan of paleoanthropology, I was a little bit miffed that the cave paintings on the walls depicted woolly rhinos in America, which they did not live in America. So that bumps it down a bit. But honestly, I mean, I'll let you. I've said what I've wanted to say about this movie. You take it away.
I thoroughly enjoyed The Descent. It was a very good film. I very much enjoyed the suspense. I wasn't as into the color play as Spencer was. It was useful. It just didn't really add too much, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that in the way of, oh, they shouldn't have done it. It was very. It allowed you to separate certain scenes, and because the characters get separated and stuff. But it just it's not it wasn't as impactful for me that they had all these changing colors, and I think that the suspense was done very well, and that everybody did some very good acting, um, and very comically or ironically, which is probably also the point, is the descent of not just themselves but their own mental sanity in the cave, eventually leading to people becoming more murderous as the movie went on,
Mm-hmm. Now,
and
oh, go ahead.
slaying of some others.
Here's a question for you, because we watched the U.S. release, but then we also watched the U.K. alternate ending where I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
the lead girl's name, but she escapes. She thinks she escapes, but then she wakes up and realizes she hasn't and is surrounded by the creatures. Which ending do you prefer?
The first one felt more like a good close to the story. The U.S. release one felt like a much better close to the story, and it is what is the true ending because they decided to make a sequel that we did not watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the UK ending just it's technically more realistic. Of she's not gonna fall down a hole in the cave and then find her way out magically on a huge pile of bones. It's not super realistic based off how cave systems work. But so I definitely preferred the first ending. The second one
I
just felt eh
I prefer
comparatively.
actually the UK ending, just because I think
But you're
it
wrong.
it it works better with it. Just I like the whole sense of helplessness with it, and it just
Mhm,
really
mhm.
adds to the eerie factor of the descent. Um, but I also did like the US ending, and yes, we did not watch the second one because apparently it's not very good. So
I was gonna say you're also choosing the second ending possibly because you don't want there to
I
be a
don't want
second
I
movie.
don't want to watch the next movie. Um, so where are we putting this? I'm thinking either A or B.
I'm giving it B.
B.
I didn't enjoy it enough for it to be A, but it's not a
Okay.
bad movie, so I'm giving it B.
I'm fine with a high B.
Yeah, high B is okay. I didn't think it was quite good enough for A.
Okay. Then second, yes, the second movie
Third
we
movie.
watched on October 5th, so our third movie in total, was the first Paranormal Activity. Now, Paranormal Activity as a movie holds a very special place in my heart because it was one of the first horror movies I ever really remember watching and being terrified of as a child.
It was
Uh,
the first horror movie I ever watched.
it's a I love the low budget unscripted nature of it. I like that a lot of it. The whole movie, as far as I'm aware, was improved in the sense of the director would just give them what happens in the scene, and all of the dialogue was just improved in it. So it felt like we're watching two actual people going through what they're going through. Um, And I, for one, the horror movies that will always freak me out the most are the ones where there is something you can't see. Because that to me is just infinitely scarier than something you can see. Because if you can see something, you can know where it is, you know what's coming at you. But with paranormal activity, you never know where it is. You never know where this demon is going to strike next or what exactly it is. And I really like that aspect of it. Now, the sequels, I actually like the second and third one. We only watched the first one for this watch, but I like the second and third one. Everything after that is kind of dog shit. I'm not going to lie. And I don't think that's a crazy opinion. This film franchise went on for way too long, but the first one on its own, I think is actually a very good movie.
I agree. It's a very good film. I spent a lot of time honestly being horrified at it because I watched it when I was like 6.
Oh yeah.
Um, but uh,
6-year-old Delaney quaking in his boots.
yes, because I'm watching it long after my family has gone to bed, sitting in my dark room, like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? And then being horrified as Mike,
Yeah,
whatever his name
Mika.
was, I'm gonna call Mika was dropped from the fucking room or whatever it was. So that was mildly horrifying. But it was a very good movie. I did not actually know that most of the dialogue was improvised. You never did tell me that, Spencer.
Oh, my bad.
So I was literally looking that up while you were talking. But it was a very good film. It was a very, very good film.
Where we
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
where are we putting it?
I'd say high A, if nothing. If anything. Where would you put it?
I can agree with A. Above or below Nope. I'd personally say below because disregarding our own personal biases of nostalgia, uh, just from a technical standpoint, it's not. The cinematography isn't anything
I,
special because it's
I
all
was
found
gonna say,
footage. It's not.
but you also have to appreciate what one man has done with, or I guess technically 4 people, 5 people have done with two cameras, a single house, and their own want to shoot a movie.
That is true. But does
I'm
that
not
put
saying
it
put it
above
above
Nope?
no, but I'm saying it still deserves a very high bar.
Okay.
And this was about the point that we decided to make this we're gonna try and watch a movie for every day of
Mm-hmm.
October. So these movies are going to get a lot more close together in their time frames.
Yes. So I'll put it there for right now. We can move things around.
We'll move stuff in and out as we go.
The fourth movie we watched, which was our first movie of Monday, October 6th, was Upgrade. Um, Now this is one you recommended, so why don't you lead the charge on this?
So, Upgrade is a very interesting film. Um, it's much more slasher horror than the suspense horror of the other 3 that we watched thus far. Um, Along with the story of following the guy on the image after his wife is slain, then he goes around with this basically microchip in his neck that helps him operate his body, which eventually decides, I don't have to listen to people anymore
Mm-hmm.
because he convinces the paraplegic man to uh, basically remove his code ability, his ability, his limiters to have to listen to people. And
Mm-hmm.
so he, the AI, which I think was called Chip or something,
STEM, I think, is what it.
STEM, yes,
Yeah.
STEM was basically is the villain behind the movie,
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed it because it had some good action pieces, some very gratuitous gore and violence at times. I enjoyed the camera differences between when uh whatever the main guy's name is in control, where it's moving around very human, and then STEM where everything is very focused and moves very quickly but very straight
Yeah.
in all of its movements.
I also enjoyed Upgrade quite a bit. I don't think I've laughed at a horror movie as hard as I did when they had the scene where the guy sits down in the wheelchair or gets up from his wheelchair. He's like, "Hey, can you watch this?" And then the other guy's like,
Yeah, watch it
"Oh,
for me.
faker," and stands up and then sits in his wheelchair.
Who's the
That
guy
made me
sitting in his own
laugh
wheelchair?
really hard. I appreciate the sort of dry humor, but as a horror movie, I don't even know if I'd really consider it a horror movie. I'd consider it more of like a sci-fi thriller, honestly.
I
And for
I
me, that
think
in a tier list of horror movies, it bumps it down for me a couple points.
again, because your opinion of horror movies seems mostly about the suspense, terrifying type horror movies. That's still a horror movie, all things considered, of the slow, basically control that this man regains and then loses on his own little quest, only to find out that this fucking robot thing is basically a parasitic entity in his neck to the point where he breaks his own brain. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't want to be locked in your own body watching yourself have to commit several
No,
hundreds of murders, do you?
there's definitely horrifying aspects of it, and I see why it would be like considered a horror movie by most people, but for me, I just didn't get a lot of the horror aspects from it. Like I when watching it, we finished it and I'm like, that was really good. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't feel like a true
It's not
horror
your
movie,
type of horror movie.
especially considering just how much action there is. Like, and there's a lot of really good action
Mm-hmm.
sequences, but to me it definitely felt more like a sci-fi thriller than like a true horror movie.
I mean, to be fair, it had pretty similar amounts of violence to, say, Scream, which I feel like you'd have to find a lot of people who would argue that that's
Well,
not a horror movie. Because, to
there's
be fair, most of that isn't really. You're not seeing him stalk his victims. The scariest part is you get a phone call and they break through your goddamn window. That's my only caveat to that one.
like my point isn't, I'm not, when I say action, I'm not talking about like the violence behind it. I'm talking about like you have your main guy like getting into full-blown action sequence fist fights, whereas something like Scream, it's the Scream guy, Mr. Ghostface, Mr. Ghostflash as we called him. You know, he's going after people with a knife, and then everybody else, they may like fight back, but it's more, I don't know, it's just more horror based than something like Upgrade, where you're getting into these like I'm just thinking of the scene where he's going up against the other cybernetic guy, and is
Mm-hmm.
like they're trading blows, and it feels like something out of like a John Wick movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the action is prioritized more than the gore.
And, I can give you that one, that's for sure. I'll give you that one for sure.
So I want to put it in B, but I could maybe be persuaded otherwise.
No, no, I think B is a good place for it. I was worried that you were going to say like C or D, and then I would
No,
have to
no, no, no,
argue
no.
because
It was
I'm
still,
not thinking it wasn't good enough for the other movies that it's up against up there, but I didn't think
it's
that was bad enough for.
still a very good movie, but
Mm-hmm.
what holds it back from the higher tiers for me is the fact that it just didn't really feel like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get into something that is a true horror movie. Another movie we watched on Monday, October 6th, is Sinister. You have Mr. Ethan Hawke himself looking through a bunch of old tapes of murders. I enjoyed this one quite a bit, but I'll be honest, like, this is another one that I watched when I was younger and really enjoyed, and I still do really enjoy it. There's a lot of good horror. There's some jump scares, but they don't feel overly gratuitous. The whole um
Ooh, I believe his name
the
was.
yeah, Bagul, uh Bagabushka or whatever the fuck his name is. You know, his whole MO is very creepy, and like getting the youngest kid to kill the rest of the family is very interesting. But after watching all of these movies nowadays, I'm sure when it came out in, God, when did Sinister come out? Let me look this up. 2012. I'm sure when it came out in 2012, it was somewhat, you know, new and exciting. But we're 13 years removed from that, and it just feels kind of basic. Like, your basic haunting story, which isn't a bad thing. And it does that very well. But I think that kind of knocks it down a bit for me.
Yes, I know that you enjoyed the movie, and you enjoyed all like the horror elements and everything. And I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. I just didn't enjoy it very much. It's a good movie, and I can appreciate that it is a good movie. I just don't feel very strongly about it. It's just it was okay.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Of like,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. It does what it needs to do, what it is wanting to do well, but it's nothing outstanding, especially compared to some of the other movies on this list.
For the audience to understand, just to specify for any of these specific movies, if you disagree with my point, I am the type of person to, if you tell me to watch something like 4 or 5 times, I'm going to hate watching it when I inevitably do.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer learned that very importantly.
Um, I think C tier is pretty. Like, I mean, it's pretty
That's a
middle of
fair
the
one.
road. Like, it
I was
didn't.
gonna say nothing on this tier list is necessarily us saying it's a terrible movie. I don't think that you're going to find us saying that on this tier list anywhere.
We'll get to one where I have some pretty strong opinions about it. The more I think about it, but we'll
I
get
was
to
gonna
that
say
when we get to that.
ex- you have to give it at least that it's a credit for its time. It may be good. That's all that I'm gonna say. Because
Uh,
if it's a movie on, depending on which movie that you're talking about,
I don't think
which
it's
don't
the
tell me until
movie
we
you're
get. All
thinking
right,
about,
that's
but
fair.
there's two on this list that I
One is much older than the other.
really did not like. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
honest. So Tuesday, October 7th, we watched Creep. Creep is a movie about a guy who is working as a cameraman for this other guy who's supposedly dying of cancer, and uncovers that he's not actually dying of cancer and he's a serial killer who enjoys getting people to film him before he kills them. And um, I know you have your thoughts about this movie, which we'll get into, but
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's another one that I watched when I was younger and really enjoyed back then. It's kind of strangely funny at times. And just what I like about it, and I brought it up when we were talking about this last night, is a lot of like psychos in horror movies, like Ghostface or Michael Myers or any of these other like big slasher villains. They're very, kind of over the top in their evilness or their insanity. But with Creep, the main villain just feels so real. Like he feels like an
But
actual person that you could meet, and I think that makes it scarier.
to be fair, this also wasn't like a slasher film, so you
Well,
can't
yeah,
really put it to a place like Halloween, like Scream as much.
and that's fair.
It's
But
meant to
like
be more of that grounded.
you get my point of like
Mm-hmm.
even something like
This is the type of person that you'd walk by on
Psycho
the street without
or
realizing.
whatever, yeah, or like with Norman Bates or whatever. Like this, that still feels kind of over the top. This feels like you would meet this guy and you wouldn't like, yeah, he's a bit off, but you wouldn't know he's actually psycho until it's too late. Like what happens in the movie.
See, but in the movie, the guy also goes to meet him after he well knows that he's
No,
psycho.
no, no, no. That's the camera guy, the main
Whatever his
dude.
name was.
Yeah, I
An
can't
idiot.
remember his. He's an idiot. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a dumbass, but it feels much more grounded and real and like because I never fear about meeting someone like Michael Myers because Michael Myers is just straight up pure evil. Like that's not I don't ever
That's what he is in the movie. That is how
fear.
he's described.
Yes, I do not ever fear to meet someone like Michael Myers. I do fear to meet somebody like the dude from Creep because man, those people exist out there. But that's really all I have to say on it. I enjoy it and I think it does a good job of building that sort of really weird, for lack of a better term, creepy vibe from our main from our main villain.
Creep was, for my opinion, a interesting movie. It wasn't bad. I'm not going to call any of these movies distinctly terrible films, but it's just not a movie that I enjoyed very much either. Um, and like they tried to make this guy seem really creepy, and yeah, it looks like a guy who has some real big brain issues. But a big issue that we kept running into, or at least I did while watching, was okay. He called the character, the main guy called the cops once, and then they went, oh, there's nothing we can do. That's not when you stay in your house and go, oh, I'm just going to sleep here. That's when you go down to the police station and basically say, hey, I feel like I'm in danger for my life. Is it okay if I stay here? And they probably will say, sure, as long as they stay out of the way. They're just going to sit in the lobby. Who gives a shit then?
I mean, to
And then,
I agree with you. However, there are many cases in real life because of how hard something like stalking is to prove. The police not taking him seriously or not being able to do anything about it is very true to life. And there are many
I was
cases
going to
of
say,
people who consistently report to the police that they fear for their life, and the police don't do anything only for them to end up murdered in a ditch.
but that doesn't also stop him from going down to the station and just basically saying, or asking, or just sitting in the fucking police lobby until morning, for example.
But dude, we're talking about the American police force. Are they
They're known for their brutality.
yeah, are they gonna let a
That's it.
guy sit there and for no reason? Or are they gonna say, hey
I was
dude,
gonna
you
say,
gotta go home?
well, no, because isn't this is in California, right? That's where that movie takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, yeah, they probably will just let him sit there. They're not gonna. It's not like, oh, we close at 7 and you need to get out at 7. They're open 24 hours. They just have people on night shift. That's all I'm gonna say about that one. But I didn't enjoy the film very much.
So where do you want to put it?
Where are you voting it? Let's start there.
Probably C for creep.
Yeah, that's a fair place to put it. I wasn't gonna put it much lower.
C for creep. Okay. Next up, also watched on October 7th, is Oculus with the Demon Mirror. With Karen Gillan and God, what's his name? Brenton Thwaites.
I have no idea the names of actors, so don't look at me to assume that.
No, I was reminding myself.
I'm telling the audience.
Yeah, fair enough. I enjoy Oculus quite a bit. I like how, a lot of horror movies have the victims kind of being passive in their role, like they're being actively attacked. And I liked how this, however misguided Miss Karen Gillan was in her attempts, this sees our protagonist taking a much more proactive approach in trying to destroy the mirror. She has all these.
They literally have to take an active role.
Yeah, they've but she did all this research and established a bunch of different contingencies and stuff, and it's really interesting to see how those contingencies fail as time goes on and the mirror gains more control over them. The scene with the light bulb will always but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I enjoyed that the whole logic behind damaging the mirror seemed to be you had to damage it through somebody. And that was a very fun way of basically the movie explained how to beat it, but nobody realized how to beat it because, when they did damage the mirror initially, they were like 7 and 11, something like that. Some small age where, the boy had to shoot his dad. And that the whole contingency plan with the weighted blade on the mirror coming back to bite, I forget what her name was, in the ass, where it jammed through the back of her head, and then her brother got sent back to the mental ward because now he's murdered his sister on top of the being blamed for the murder of his father.
Yeah. Hold on, I need to sneeze.
I think,
Fuck.
bless you.
Thank you.
I think it was a very fun touch. That the whole point of the mirror is that it's another movie based around perception and the changing of perception messing with the mind. So he didn't perceive his sister there, and then he stabbed her in the back.
I also really appreciate how so Oculus does not have a sequel. It has like I think a Hindi and Chinese remake, but it doesn't have like an actual sequel. And throughout it, they never explain what the mirror is or where it really comes from. They give a bit of its history, but like we as the audience and the characters never figure out like why it does those things. Whereas like franchises like The Conjuring or Paranormal Activity or Insidious have like a shitload of lore to their villains, which can work and is cool. But I think Oculus does a good job of just like, and I remember reading. I'd need to find it again, but I believe there's an interview where the creatives behind it basically said they didn't want anybody to ever know what the mirror was.
And that's the nice part about having a single, or even if it does ever get a sequel, a duo of films about a topic. It's you can leave what you want completely vague or unknown, but when you get into Paranormal Activity 11 or Insidious 3 or whatever, you either have to start explaining some things or it's just going to get really boring of random ghost kidnapped baby.
I would honestly say Oculus is A tier.
I'd say it's high A tier.
Above or below Paranormal Activity?
I'd say above Paranormal Activity because they both have very similar concepts and ideas, but I feel like Oculus just was more interesting.
I do also believe that Oculus was the only movie with a jump scare that actually got you.
I forget which jump scare.
It was when she's a kid and she finds her mom tied up in the bedroom. Oh
yes, because she comes diving out on the chains. Yes, I believe that is the only movie with a jump scare that actually got me.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, watched on. Let me double check. Wednesday, October 8th is Apostle.
The Apostle.
Not The Apostle, just Apostle. There is another movie called The Apostle.
The Apostle, but shh.
But again, this is one you recommended, so I'll let you take the lead on this.
Apostle is a very interesting film following the main male actor to go get his sister back from this group just off the British Isle, who have built up this community based around their new religion, which is worshiping this goddess of the island, and how her health directly impacts the health of the island and caused the mutations and the failures of crops, which led the islanders to do this abduction for the money that they were trying to ransom the woman off for. Excuse me. And it's more suspense than Upgrade, which I had also recommended. But it does have its own action segments and a very action-packed climax area. All set off by it wasn't Quinn, no, it was the other guy. I don't remember his name, but basically one guy who is a leader of the community, a pillar of the community, takes charge after murdering his own daughter because she fell in love and was pregnant with the child of another individual on the island.
And I will say, for me, like, there are parts of this movie that I find to be really boring. However, I have never cringed so hard at a gore scene in any movie than when that one scene with the fucking
sand.
The fucking
the corkscrew
to the brain. That and it's not even like as far as gore goes, like I've watched almost all the Saw movies, so I've seen worse. I've seen fucking open brain surgery performed. I've seen worse gore, but just the way it was done is so. And as we were watching it, just that whole sequence, I was just like,
As this that one movie made the bit of Spencer, where do you put it on the scale?
the scale, yeah.
Because he had done it for a few other points in other movies thus far, but
And
this is definitely where it
Apostle
wants the
as
list.
a movie, I say, C tier, but on the scale, 10 out of 10. I've never felt more uncomfortable watching a gore scene than I have watching this movie, at least that I remember.
Hmm. I don't think that you, besides maybe Bring Her Back.
Even then, I still think this one takes
That's
the
why I
cake
said maybe.
for the biggest factor.
It cakes the take. Fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
cakes the take.
Hmm.
Uh, so I'd honestly say that bumps it up to a low B for me.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
giving it B.
I think there were some parts that could have been done better. I think especially the start of the movie is just a little bit slow, and again, that's not a bad thing.
I.
But for a
Mhm.
movie with a 2 hour 5 minute runtime, I think it
Something like that. It's long.
could have had a little bit more to do in the beginning, and that would make it, because I also felt like the end was, I don't want to say rushed, but just a lot of things happened back to back to back, and the pacing just felt a little bit weird for me.
Hmm.
But I will say, I love me some Michael Sheen. He's great in this movie. And I like the sort of, I don't want to say lore because there wasn't much lore, but just the goddess as a whole and the way she works was very interesting, and I like that quite a bit.
Hmm. It was very fun. I
Now,
personally really enjoyed the film.
now for
The Vavitch.
The Vavitch, which we also watched on October 8th. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is probably one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I think it does. First of all, I'm a sucker for the whole witch aesthetic, the whole like Puritan 1600s witch trial aesthetic. I just think it's really interesting. Um, and it reminds me, and this was almost certainly intentional, it reminds me a lot of The Crucible, which I don't know if you're familiar with The Crucible, Delaney. It's a
Tough
play.
name.
uh
Oh, it's a I didn't know.
well, I believe it's been made into a movie, but it's about the Salem witch trials. And the whole point of it is it was a criticism of the Red Scare and McCarthyism,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
how like paranoia will lead people to do things that they normally wouldn't do, like turning on their neighbors and shit. And I think this movie does a really good job of, building that paranoia, building, we see the family turn against Thomason as they are more convinced that she is a witch, and that in itself sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where she is led to becoming a witch by her own family's actions. Um
Hmm.
the witch as a whole, along with Black Phillip, is just really creepy. And man, the atmosphere of that movie is just, they do it so well. Of just, even things that are kind of innocuous and wouldn't normally be creepy just feel disconcerting and weird. Um, and so I'm a sucker for this movie. I love this movie. I've watched it. I believe this was my third or fourth time watching it. Um, it's a really really fantastic watch. Anya Taylor Joy. This was one of her first big roles. She's fantastic. Ralph Ineson, as the dad, is also just great. Um, and I mean, yeah, that's all I really have to say. Is I just think this is a really really solid movie.
Well, I will be honest. The atmosphere is nice, and I enjoyed proper witchy aesthetic. But up until the boy getting lost in the woods and kidnapped and then showing back up, it's really slow. And honestly, much like you said about Postle, it's kind of boring. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. I didn't find the super creepy atmosphere super creepy. It just kind of felt like a peasantish family kind of just living for a while with their own natural religious superstitions of the Sabbath and everything like that. And the mother ranting and raving about the cup that clearly the daughter stole, which turned out that it was the father who sold it, and then that just never coming back up about how the mother never came back and was like to even her daughter, not even just to apologize or go out against the father, just kind of dropped the issue from then there on
Well, I
and
think
never brought it up again.
that's kind of the
But
point of it, though, is like her paranoia led her to believe it was her daughter, and didn't even like. Why
but
would
also
she apologize? Because also at that point in
but
the
I
movie, they'd
but
all been convinced she was a witch.
but my other point is the fact that it wasn't even like a how could you sell my father's cup to her husband? It's literally just that it's never brought up again that it ever happened. It just kind of felt like it was there. And I understand that's to build the paranoia as a reason to start. But there's also her losing her first child, which was a big reason for her whole paranoia and that he was lost to this and that and that he's in hell burning and stuff like
Mm.
that. Which was what sent her down the religious fervor, which brought her to the point of my daughter is a fucking witch. But I know that Spencer is a fan of this movie, and I'm not going to say this is the worst movie I've ever watched. It was an okay film. I again enjoyed the actual depiction of the witches and how they existed. I didn't find Black Phillip to be all that spooky. He was just kind of an evil fucking goat, which yes turned out to be the devil, but for most of the movie he's just an evil goat. Just a really asshole goat.
One thing that so thing with Black Phillip, first of all, yeah, I didn't find him necessarily like creepy, but I think one thing that makes me love this movie so much, and just to, I know you know this, but just to for everybody else watching, is I took a course on witchcraft and magic in Scandinavia, and in that class we read bits and pieces from the Witch's Hammer and all these old documents about witchcraft and the Witch's Sabbath, and the he goat, and his role in things. And when I had originally watched it, I hadn't taken that class, but watching it again, like, I don't want to say they got it was like historically accurate, quote unquote, but they did their research, especially with the iconography, and I really appreciate that in how it really pulled a lot from not just like the pop culture view of a witch, but the actual historical belief in witches, which I think was which makes me love the movie more.
That's why I'm saying I enjoyed the depiction of the witches
Yeah.
because Spencer had been part of that class when I first watched it because it was my first time watching, but it was okay in my opinion overall.
See, I want to put
I
it
don't
in
hate it.
S tier, but I have
I
a
do not want
feeling,
to put it in S
yeah.
here.
So where do you want to
It is
put it?
not. I was gonna put it in B.
I'll concede B. Where in B?
I'd say put it above Upgrade.
Okay.
I'd say put Upgrade honestly at the bottom of B tier, as it is right now.
Okay. Then our next movie, which we watched on Friday, October 10th, is
Mm-hmm.
Bring Her Back. And I think this is my favorite movie we watched.
This was a very, very good movie. This is probably, I'd say this is a very good contender to be S tier.
I honestly,
Let's just put it up in S tier.
I'm
Okay.
gonna put it in S tier because what? Can I not? It's not letting me put it in S tier. Hold on.
Is it a faux S tier? Is it a fake S
Is it
tier?
a faux S tier? Possibly.
I was gonna say you should click the gear on the S tier and see if it is a faux S tier.
No,
Oh no,
it's
it's real.
real.
Get rid of it.
But yeah, we'll
Oh, weird. Wait a minute. Yeah, so
Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah. Bring Her
you just
Back.
weren't up high
I
enough, I
wasn't
guess.
up high enough, I guess. But Bring Her Back is really, really great. The acting is
Mhm.
phenomenal. The blind girl, that was like her first time in any like major thing. Um, and she did great. Um, just the whole story of and themes of grief were really good. There's some really uncomfortable gore, especially with
Mhm.
Ollie
If I
fucking
was gonna say, if you
biting
have
the
teeth,
table.
if you have teeth and you like to keep those teeth, then this movie's basically going to make you regret having teeth.
Yeah, it was just
There's a
from
surprising amount with
the
teeth.
pacing was great, the story was great, the creepy element, again, it's a horror movie that like I was never actively like shivering in my timbers scared, but man, it knows what it wants to do and it does it so well. And like the imagery with the circles that the woman constantly does in order to control Ollie to get her son to get her daughter back is just it's oh mwah,
Or more accurately, the
mwah.
demon in her that is sitting in Ollie.
Yeah, it just man, it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't have much else to say about it other than it deserves S tier, and if you haven't watched this movie, you absolutely should.
You definitely should. It's a
It
very good
was
film.
really good. Okay, the next movie we watched was on Saturday, October 11th, and it was Barbarian. Uh, if you're terrified of accidentally double booking an Airbnb, well, this is your
This
nightmare
is your
come to
nightmare come true.
life.
This is
I like how
it's an
the
it's an
first
interesting movie.
the first guy in the Airbnb at the beginning that the main girl double books with, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you expect him to be a creep, but he's not. Like, at least not really. But it's the second
I
guy who shows up there who's the creep.
I was gonna say I don't think he's a creep. The first guy's a creep at all. He's literally
Yeah.
just trying to explain. All right, here's how we can do this. If you
The
want to leave, I can't stop you, but I can sleep out here. You can take the bedroom. It has a lock. Blah blah blah.
yeah, the only creepy thing about him is he's played by Bill Skarsgård, who just is in general kind of a creepy looking dude. I mean, he did play Pennywise in It, so that's like
Mhm,
really the only truly creepy thing about him. But it kind of subverts expectations in that regard. The monster design for the fucking incest baby was pretty cool. I
It's
think
just a really tall naked woman.
yeah,
I
but
don't. It's just kind of lanky. That's my opinion on that one.
yeah,
It's
but
okay.
like
It's
again, it's I like it because of how it because it's not a monster; it's an incest rape baby.
mm-hmm.
And
I don't think you could say the last one on YouTube.
shush, it's okay. An incest grape baby. Um, it's not like anybody's gonna see this to the point where it gets taken down, and if it does, I'll be mad. Um,
See, but that's the thing. It's the if you don't know how the YouTube algorithm will want to eat our
we'll
souls.
we'll find out. But
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
everything going on with her, like that whole, I won't go into too much detail for the sake of YouTube, but that sort of
She wants her own baby.
action
That is the big
action
thing about it.
those actions that the father, the old guy takes
Mm-hmm.
are definitely always kind of get me because it's ew, it's
he's
gross.
he's
But
he's very much like the guy from Creep. He's the type of guy that you would not think much about because he's just a guy,
mhm.
unaware of what he's actually doing. I mean, take the woman that he bought stuff from in the store. He talked about how he was going to have a child soon, home birth, blah blah blah,
Mhm.
and she wasn't aware at all that he was just going to kidnap a woman.
But as a whole, kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I agree.
Where do you want to put it?
DC, honestly,
I'll put it in D tier for now.
because
May
it's
may
forgettable.
move it up.
We'll see what else ends up around it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, kind of forgettable. Um, well done. It's a very well done movie from a technical standpoint. Acting's good, cinematography's good. Um, but doesn't really offer much beyond the initial shock of, oh, that's an incest blank baby who's
Mhm.
trying to kill people. Also, one of the main guys is also a not great individual. Um,
He doesn't take no for an answer very well.
yeah. Um, Alrighty. Next up
Is await further
is
instructions.
Sunday, October 12th. Await further instructions. The more I think about it, the more I did not like this movie.
I was gonna say, I'll explain your grievances for the audience. I'm listening.
Well, so the whole plot is basically this family in the UK is trapped in their home because of some weird goop, tentacle goop that is encompassing their house. And the premise of it is that their TV is telling them to await further instruction and is giving them instructions, including sending down vaccines that they have to take, um, some other things that they have to do, including saying, oh, there's like one of you is infected, and the big kind of conflict is that the main guy, his girlfriend is Indian, and the rest of the family's kind of racist. But I have a couple main issues with it. First of all, I did some research. This movie was, I believe, let me double check this, but I believe it was released during the pandemic. Um, no, it was released before the pandemic. I'm wrong. Which is just unfortunate timing, given its, you know, I don't want to say it's anti-vax because it's not, but the whole like don't just accept things the government sends you sort of rhetoric. Uh, Obviously it came out before the pandemic, but it just feels very unfortunate timing being released in 2018 than just to have the pandemic
I mean,
happen in the
I
whole.
was gonna say that was still about 2 years, but I'm personally going to be the type of person to stand by the don't just accept absolutely everything the government tells you. They're definitely not batting 1,000 and telling you everything completely.
No, and I agree with
And
that. I
that's
agree with that. However, it's just like I said, really unfortunate that
unfortunate timing.
manifested
For
as
yeah.
refusing vaccines when 2 years later a lot of people were refusing the COVID
Mhm.
vaccine, which if you're one of those people and you're watching, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry.
If you're one of
Like,
those people and you're watching, you've made your own decision. That is all we're going to say about it.
no, I'm gonna say they're a fucking idiot. You can say whatever you want to say about it, but being
This,
anti-vax is fucking stupid.
I'm not saying being anti-vax. I'm saying specifically with the COVID vaccine, it was for a lot of places completely optional, and you've made your decision whether or not you took it or not. It is not my place to moral high ground on whether or not you should have taken it.
It is my place, and I will say you're
It
a
is
fucking
definitely not
idiot.
any of our places.
No, no, it was.
I say this as somebody who has gotten it. I will specify that.
Yeah, no, but like in general, side tangent, but anti-vax rhetoric is one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever witnessed, and
Didn't we
just.
get smallpox back for a while, or is that still around again?
I mean, I don't know about smallpox, but even now there are like significant measles outbreaks among children.
Yeah, I'm
A
just trying to
disease
remember
we
because
had gotten rid of because of vaccines, but then a bunch of stupid parents are like, "Oh, well, I would rather my kid get measles than autism, even though all the evidence shows that vaccines don't cause autism." Um, and so, anyways, not relating to the movie, my other gripes with it are just I don't know. It's the ending is really weird.
the final act and the ending is
The
very
final act is
interesting.
just not great and kind of like it's a really cool concept. I'll give it that. The movie has a really cool concept. But man, the execution was not great, in my opinion, with the fucking tentacles, the wires
The tentacles and
just looks
the
so dumb.
combat
Just it
is
just
very
looks
interesting.
so dumb. And the whole ending with the baby being born, and we talked about this last night, but for everybody watching,
He loves that it said "Worship me" on the
the
TV
TV
to the
says
little baby who
worship
was just
me
born.
to a newborn baby, and I'm like, ah, yes, this baby can totally read and understand what is being done. Yes, that makes sense. And I think the best way I can describe it is the first half of the movie is interesting and cool and plays into the
Mhm.
whole idea of like paranoia and like especially with like the racist aspect. I appreciate that, but man, that second half of the movie just kind of foregoes logic for the sake of having what the filmmakers thought would be a cool set piece, but in execution isn't even a cool set piece.
I I will say, as far as the yes, you can look at it as an anti-government rhetoric, with the messaging, but I think the other point is how easy it is to manipulate people using your own biases and their biases to do what you want, because the dad, I forget his name, the whole point is that he is literally a middle manager. He is like the office floor manager, I think he was technically called. So he's not a super important guy. He still takes orders from somebody who's more important than him. And him looking at the TV and him directing the situation is giving him that fill of him wanting to be important. And if he listens to this, clearly it must know what's going on, because it must understand it's the TV, it's the government, it's somebody telling him what he wants to hear. He is being validated, and that is the whole point, that it's the devolvement of people, the whole "I'm just following orders" concept of, if you're told to do something, a lot of people will end up doing it
No, and like
because they're being told to by somebody who seems important or in charge.
and I get that, and like I again in doing research on this movie, it was based off of some like things like the Stanford prison experiment and like how far
Mm-hmm.
people will go if they're just told to do something, which again in concept, in theory, is really cool, but I just think the execution was not great. I just
I was gonna say they abandoned it partway through the movie for the house and whatever's in charge directly affecting the people, rather than just having it be the people affecting each other based off of what
yeah.
a television is saying. Which, if they kept that, then I would say it would be very interesting, because it would be a proper dissection of the human idea and how far we're willing to go for what we think is right and what we want.
And I think I agree that if they had just stuck with the idea of like the family turning on themselves, it would have been more interesting. But when they start bringing in, as you said, that aspect of the house or the whatever the fuck it is actively
The
affecting them,
alien thing or whatever.
it
Mm-hmm.
it loses that. And in order to keep the suspense, it needs to actually be intimidating and scary. But I found myself just kind of giggling at it more often than not because it was
Mm-hmm.
just so stupid looking and ridiculous.
Like,
Like,
like
man,
here's two things that happen in very close proximity to each other in the movie. Is after Angie, which I think is the girlfriend's name, is locked up in upstairs with the dead grandfather because she's sick, and you must
mm-hmm.
quarantine the sick and the dead. Blah 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 is what the movie says. Um, the TV then says that you have a spy among you. Okay, it's clearly the son, the main character that we follow. So they drag him upstairs, tie him up, and are about to torture him for this information that he supposedly
Oh,
has.
they actively do torture him.
I was gonna say I didn't remember how far they got in the torture, but they torture him for this supposed information that they have, that he has, which there's no information the TV is just telling them to. 5-10 minutes later, not even, um, the top half of the house is filled with a black gas because the house decides to do that, and the mother who's in the bathroom can't get out because the door's stuck, and she fucking explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 5 minutes apart. One is very much the human X or human v human descent into madness. The other one is here's a mystical gas that makes people blow up.
Yeah, and then the tentacle wire things like killing the dad and taking over his body. Again, like when that happened, I know the intent was for it to be spooky and creepy and scary, but man,
Mm-hmm.
I just laughed. It looked so, and it's not even like that the special effects themselves were bad, just the design behind it was
Mm-hmm.
not at
Like
all intimidating.
I understand the idea on what it was going for of this man is a puppet, which is kind of the whole point of him looking like that and being like that and being puppeteered. But at the same time, it was kind of eh. The movement of the wires were really funny because you can tell that it's just them repeating the wires spinning whenever they needed to move to a location. It was really funny whenever it focused on them.
It was just,
But
yeah, it was cool ideas, cool concepts, but not a good execution. And for that reason, I'd say it's either D or honestly maybe even F.
I wouldn't say it's bad enough for F. I definitely think that there is a worse movie in here for that you'd be able to argue better for F. But given the time that came out and how decent the first half was, even if the second half was a fumble, I'd say D is a fair place for it.
Okay.
I'd argue.
Next up is Wreck,
Wreck.
which we watched
Suggested by Spencer's friend Garrett.
yes, Tuesday, October 14th. It's set in Spain and it follows a group of people in a apartment complex that are dealing with zombies.
Yes.
It's
An
found
interesting
footage.
kind of zombies.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Um it was a good take on the zombie genre. I have a lot of issues with zombie movies in general, but I think confining it to just an apartment complex kind of remedied a lot of my issues. Because, like, my biggest issue with something like The Walking Dead, for example, is I just do not believe that something like a zombie apocalypse, especially with like Walking Dead zombies, would cause entire societal collapse. I just don't believe that, especially in a place like the US where there's, you know, the fucking United States military with all of their resources. I do not
I think
believe.
what's always important with zombie movies, and I'm sure that Spencer's going to agree, is that there's two very different types of zombie movies. Yes, there's the slow, lumbering, I'm a risen dead zombie movie, which absolutely the US government, basically any government could deal with. And then there's the, oh, it's an infection, oh, I sneeze type zombie movie, which is what this movie is, which is, an airborne illness or a bloodborne illness, things like that, of, these are just terms. A lot of people don't think much about it. And then it gets onto your skin or it gets into a paper cut that you have, and suddenly, without most other people noticing or even you noticing because you've already lost it, you're biting into your friend's neck who hasn't even noticed you. Because it's not a violently obvious change in a lot of cases. It's a very simple and subtle one, which is what a lot of the infection zombie movies are.
But like even with infection zombie movies, and Wreck is not one of these, but I just don't
Wreck is
believe
definitely an infection
that.
zombie movie.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, in a lot of
Mhm.
infection zombie movies, they depict zombie apocalypse, and I'm sorry, even with an infection, I don't believe that a zombie infection could lead to. Sure, it could lead to some countries completely collapsing. Sure, it could lead to
Mhm.
areas completely collapsing, but entire global societal collapse, no way, no way. And
It,
I don't believe that, which is why honestly I like Wreck, because rather than it being, oh, all of society is collapsing, it is in a very quarantine zone. It is just this apartment complex. And that I think works a lot better for a zombie movie. Because, in Wreck, sure, the government can try to uh, stop what is happening, and they are. But the people who are stuck in the apartment complex, what the fuck are they gonna do when they're quarantined in there with the zombies? And I think that adds to the horror and makes it much more believable when compared to something like The Walking Dead or other popular zombie media where we just see complete and utter societal collapse.
I can understand that. And with certain things like The Walking Dead and such, usually that's not. Here's a day and the world's gone to shit, to be fair. In most places, it's, you know, here's a week, here's a month, maybe it took a year, but usually there's a time gap between when we may see the initial outbreak and when it's actually happening.
But like also, to be fair, I haven't watched The Walking Dead in a while, and I only watched like the first 4 seasons, so I don't know how things change. But like, it starts with Rick in a coma, and then he wakes up, and the whole world's gone to shit. So we don't
Mhm.
even get to see how that progresses.
I
And
think.
my
Oh.
point is like me personally, I just don't like zombie movies that are set within the whole zombie apocalypse feel. Whereas something like Wreck, it's not apocalyptic on a global scale. It's apocalyptic for these 10 or 12 people in an apartment complex, which feels way more believable and scary.
Apocalyptic. Yeah, there's like 4 of the movies, though.
Well, yeah, but we didn't watch any of the other Wreck movies, so just based off of this one, I thought it's pretty good. Wasn't anything necessarily spectacular, but I like it. I like the found footage aspect. Um,
Mhm.
it's nice to have a foreign movie to watch. So,
Yes, a good foreign movie.
but what are your opinions on it?
Oh, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will say the religious aspect at the end was interesting, and that they were trying to take the disease into a religious direction was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. That it's like a curse from a devil or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the fact that obviously we looked at the titles later on, it definitely does seem to be religious in the sense that that is where this disease comes from and everything.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting take on zombies. I would put Wreck at C tier ish,
I'd say high C.
so like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then our next movie, and I believe probably our next S tier,
I very much enjoyed this movie.
is Weapons, watched on October 15th. Man, this movie
It's a very good
is
movie.
so good, dude. Just like, I love me some creepy kids, and even though the kids aren't like super in it, it still, revolves around kids being creepy. Um,
Watching a group of kids rip apart an old woman, though.
yeah, that is pretty sick. I also really like how it's formatted of like
It's
each
almost like an
section of the
anthology.
movie. It's an anthology, but all surrounding the same event and then the
Mm-hmm.
plot lines just kind of converge. So like we first see Mr. Benedict Wong attacking whatever the main girl's name was, but then we go back and learn how he got to that place, and then see
Mm-hmm.
him attack her again, and then it continues on from there. And I think that was
I
just
was
like,
gonna say, yeah. So, because we follow the teacher,
mhm.
who is kind of our main character, we have several. I guess it wouldn't be fair to call any of them main characters
It's
besides the
definitely
kid.
an ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, our first ensemble is the lady who's the teacher, and we follow her. Up until what is it? I think we follow her up till we see the door open and somebody cut her hair.
Hmm.
I think that's where we first see our first cut is, and then we move over to the
Mr. Josh
man who,
Brolin.
yes, who's lost his son, or to the woman, um, and he blames the teacher, and he's been basically losing his mind for a month, and his wife was completely removed and doesn't really care. and we eventually follow him until he meets up with the teacher lady at a gas station where Benedict Wong attacks. Um, and then I believe we jump over to. Do we jump over to Wong or do we jump over to the police officer then?
I can't remember exactly the format, but like
Fair, but
it's just
eventually we jump. I think it's third is we jump over to the police officer,
yeah.
and he meets up with this tweaker guy, commits some police
Mm-hmm.
brutality, and basically is following around this tweaker guy, or more so, being followed around by this tweaker guy, whose perspective we jump to, and he's the one who finds the kids first.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually we swap over to Alex, the kid, and learn what's going on with Aunt Gladys, I believe her name was.
I believe so.
And man, she's so creepy. Just I hate old people. I old people. Um, they freak me out. I'm sure there's some deep seated trauma in there from my own upbringing, but
Somewhere.
man, old people, dude, they really get me. Especially old people with like really bad makeup and fake hair. But I also like the witchy aspect of it. You know, sucker for that, as we've already established. Um, but it's man, it's really good.
It's a very good film.
I don't think there's really much else to say about it other than I think this deserves S tier. I don't want to say
If
too
you want
much
to,
because if you haven't watched this, you should
if
go
you
watch
want to
it.
burn 4-ish hours of your time, watch those two back to back.
Bring her back
Two
in
movies
weapons. Oh
about
yeah,
crazy kids and crazy women about crazy kids.
yeah. Really, really fantastic. Our next movie, watched on Saturday, October 18th, is Train to Busan.
This is a fantastic film.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and put Train to Busan in S tier because
Oh,
we
absolutely.
everything I was saying about Wreck rings true here. Of like it works better as a zombie movie because it's just in Korea and just like we see what's happening outside in Korea, but
It
like it's
it's
limited primarily just to the train.
what's important about Train to Busan is it is an infection zombie movie, so it's not just here's the raisin dead. It is in a place where a lot of um, people are very tightly packed together. So basically, everywhere is like the apartment complex or the train itself. Excuse me. It's in a society that is very structured. So being out of
Mm-hmm.
that is very odd. So, such as for in some places, it is unbecoming, and you're not supposed to initiate conversation with your superiors very
Mm-hmm.
often. Um, and Korea is one of those places. So it's very interesting and very fitting for a place that also doesn't have many firearms or weaponry
Mm-hmm.
as far as dealing with, you know, people from within.
Yeah, I mean the military does, but like the
The
average
military does.
person does not.
Hmm. It's not like America where every five
Everybody
feet
has
you
a
find a
gun.
firearm. Hmm.
Yeah, which again, going back to why I'm just like, man, America would never be fully fucked by a zombie apocalypse. I'm just like, dude, the amount of guns we have here is nuts. Like, you can get guns in fucking Walmart. Um, but you know, the same is not true in Korea, and just the characters are great. Seeing the dad kind of go through his arc of becoming a better father is great. Gilgamesh, that's not his actual name, but the guy who played him played Gilgamesh in Eternals, so that's what we called him.
He's a fan.
Just
He's
an
great.
absolute baller, dude.
Hmm.
Um, and again, this I think this is just one of those movies where there's not really much to be said about it. It just kind of speaks for itself of how good it is.
Hmm.
There's like 220 people in it because
They're
all
all credited.
they're all credited, which is really nice.
Hmm.
And man, it's a it's a really solid movie. I think it definitely deserves S tier.
Even if you don't like foreign film, go watch this movie.
Oh yeah, no, this is this was my first time watching it, and I'm upset I hadn't watched it earlier because God, damn, it was really
It
enjoyable.
is the one movie out of all of these that really got me going by the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it before, so I knew it was going to happen, but it still got me going.
Alrighty, next is El Orfanato, or the Orphanage, which is a Spanish/Mexican movie. I believe it was a joint venture between the two that we watched on my birthday, Sunday, October 19th.
Yes, so make sure to send Spencer gifts that
Yes,
day next year
you can.
to all of you.
Yes, everybody who's watching, you're now legally required to send me at least $80 in the mail.
If you comment, I'll give you his PayPal.
Yeah, my Venmo will be in the link in the description. So yeah.
Patreon too if you want.
I don't even have a Patreon. I'll make one just for this. You don't get anything out of it. You just send me money. But this is an interesting one. Kid goes missing. Mom goes crazy trying to figure out where he went. I like this sort of slow descent into madness she experiences as she's looking for her Simon. But other than that, it's kind of bland, and there's not really much to it. I'd say it's kind of your classic ghost movie.
Yeah, honestly, I remember nothing about it except for at the end that guy finds the car or whatever it is. I think that was the husband who finds the car in the building. And he's like, well, she found it. That's like it.
Yeah, I don't really remember too much about it, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, it's cool to watch foreign films, but especially when compared to Train to Busan, or later on this list, we have some other foreign films that are much better. I think this is a D or F
I think
tier.
I think we only have one foreign film on here,
No,
and he
we
loves that
have
film.
two.
What's the other one?
Babadook's Australian.
Fair enough.
I also think Azabo Sobolo is British. I think.
Okay,
I guess I
fair
should
enough.
say foreign language film. But I'm thinking either D or F for The Orphanage.
Yeah, I'd give it D or F.
Which one?
Mm-hmm. None of us can remember a damn thing about it. So
I think that's worthy of F. Yeah.
We at least like The Barbarian and Wait for the Instructions. We remembered things about it.
Yeah. All I really remember about it is Simone and her finding him and him being dead.
Womp womp.
Now, I will be clear though, the woman who plays the main character is a very good actress. All the
Yes, don't let
actors in
any
it are really good, and it's well made. But just as compared to everything else on this list, it's just not that interesting.
don't let your opinion of a movie dictate your opinion of an actor.
Unless it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
To be fair, I don't know what opinion you'd have of him beyond he's from WWE.
Yeah.
Beyond.
I don't need to get into my whole discussion of why I really don't like Dwayne Johnson.
It's not one that I remember. And personally, I don't care much about Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, I just think he's
just a guy.
He's very performative, and he's not a good actor, and he's very obviously very full of himself, which is not a good look for somebody who's not that great of an actor. So, he's not like a horrible person or anything, from what I understand, but I don't like him. Alrighty, next up, also on October 19th is The Babadook.
Heading to the land down under.
Now this one, I mean, I feel like it's gotta be S with just how classic it is. You know, you have all the memes of the kid of the why can't you just be normal, and he fucking screams like crazy. Like that's such an iconic scene. The Babadook being a and to be fair, this has nothing to do with the movie, but the Babadook being a gay icon is one of my favorite memes to spawn from Tumblr.
Anybody else who doesn't know about that? Neither did I until he told me about that.
It's great. The Babadook is a gay icon. Not because of anything that happens in the movie, but because just people decided it was. I really love the themes of grief and how the Babadook sort of represents that grief, and how at the end, they put him in the basement and keep feeding him, and it's like something that grief never goes away, but it's something that you learn to deal with. I think is really a good message, and just it's good. It's campy, it's fun, it's the Babadook, man.
I don't think I quite enjoyed it enough for S, but I would put it at top of A.
Top of
It's
A.
a, it's a very good film. I didn't quite. I don't. I literally the only meme I know from it is the one where she yells at him to be normal. That is the only meme I know of it. But it's a good movie overall.
Yeah, like I think me wanting to put it in S also just comes from my nostalgia of this was one of my favorites as a kid.
How old is
And
this fucking movie?
they're pretty fucking old. It's not like super old, but it came out in 2014, so over a decade ago. Bet you feel
God,
old now.
I'm old.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
felt
we're
old for a
both
long
we're
time.
both in our 20s, by the way. So
No, I'm old. I'm sorry. I don't care how long I've been on this fucking earth. I'm old.
yeah.
You cannot take that from me.
But Babadook, very good movie, kind of campy. The voice of the Babadook and his design is very creepy, and he's a gay icon, and we love that for him. Um, Alrighty. Next up on Monday, October 20th, we watched As Above, So Below. And as you so graciously put it, hell is in France and the British opened it.
It's true. With the help of Iran, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate, or at least I appreciate, the callbacks to Dante's Inferno. I think that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
The themes of alchemy is very interesting. I just wish they did more with it. All I'll really say before I let you take it away is I really enjoy the first half of this movie. I think the second half gets a little bit too cliche horror movie for me. But
I mean, to be fair, in the second half, because the first half is getting to hell, the second half is being in hell. To be fair, um, I personally really enjoy this movie. It's also fun because it's diving into the French catacombs, and it is dealing a lot with alchemy and the pursuit of it, and how alchemy is like a perception of one's own will to change reality rather than any kind of item specifically. Basically, if you believe in something hard enough, it happens, it works, blah blah blah. And all the different scares in the hell is supposed to be connected to one person or another's past, like Philippe or whatever his name was got dragged into a burning car because he didn't try to save, or he didn't save a guy who was in there. But then there's Benjamin, who was the cameraman for most of the movie, who kept seeing this woman and basically got thrown down a hole.
yeah,
Um,
Benji.
yeah,
My Mike
that wasn't
Benji.
even his fault. There was nothing to do with
I know.
that. The child and the woman was the guy who survived. Was the third guy who survived at the end of the movie. And yet they had nothing. The poor guy just got murdered, and it wasn't fair.
I think that's kind of. I think it's one of those things where my main issue with it is the lost potential, because like you say that like, oh yeah, the second half of the movie is them in hell, and it's like, yeah, I agree with that, but like if each is supposed to be tailored to the experience of the other, or of the
Of their
individuals, then that should be reflected rather than having somebody get killed because of somebody else's experience. And when I say it feels like more cliche horror movie, it's like you're pulling from alchemy and Dante's Inferno. I feel like there's so much more interesting things you could do with that than just what you ended up doing, right? and
Mhm.
and I think this is a case of a movie that really would have benefited from like an extra 20 or 30 minutes used to build up the characters and their connections to what is going on, because really there's only the main love interest and his brother drowning, which freaks him out. um the fucking guide who was with the fire car, and then the main girl with her dad, but the
Mhm.
others
And
don't really feel like they're connected to anything in particular that they
I,
experience down there.
I was gonna say, yeah, like unlike the third guy, can't remember his name. Um, being, they asked him. mm, they were talking this. They were really sorrowful for stuff because they had to repent or whatever it was in order to escape
Mm-hmm.
hell by jumping down a hole. Because in Dante's Inferno, the only way out of hell is at the bottom of hell. Um, but he just said he has a child that he never knew and he's been avoiding. And it's like, we've never seen this guy interact with a kid. And the
Mm-hmm.
only kid that we saw was a baby being held by this woman that Benji kept seeing. And we kept seeing on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I guess maybe that means that all of France is actually hell, but because we saw her outside on the streets and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he's the one who died for the third guy's sins.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make Benji a Jesus figure?
Oh god. Oh
Are you
god.
Benji?
No, I can confirm I'm not. Another thing about this movie that I'm sure was intentional but kind of irked me is, man, the main character is just kind of really unlikable. She's so pushy
She's
with everything and is
she
directly responsible for all of the shit they have to go through.
hmm and it's like she uses that it was what her father was doing as like an excuse
It's like,
for the fact that she's had several people have died for it. Not her. She never got injured,
mhm.
which I think is another thing.
It just
There's
felt like she never
cave-ins, there's
learned,
monsters.
you know?
Because she got out scot free and with the ability to understand spoilers for this movie. Although I don't know how old it is. Um, she has to go put back the Philosopher's Stone, and when she does, she discovers that the Philosopher's Stone is just within everybody and that it's your own will. So she can just put her hand over the love interest's neck, who's currently horribly bleeding out, and just fix his neck.
Hmm.
And it's like, she did all this, and good for her. But like now, but there was no consequence besides what happened to. No, there was no consequence. Nobody left injured. They just have stories to tell, and oh, is French real? Oh, is
Is
French real?
French
Is hell
real?
real? Is hell real? Maybe, or maybe you just hallucinated in the dark for a few hours. And like, I enjoy the movie. If you go in with the idea of just watching a movie and enjoying some minor horror and enjoying some horror elements in the movie, it's not a bad movie. By no means am I going to call it that. But it's definitely one of the weakest on this list while still being
Yeah.
memorable.
I would say it's probably C tier, because I mean it also
I'd
takes
give it C
place in
tier.
France, so we can't really rate it any higher than C.
I was going to say it takes place in France. That's why it's in C.
Yeah,
Not because it takes place in France, but in spite of it taking place in France.
yeah. Next up on the same
A cult
day,
classic.
October 20th, we watched Scream, which I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would. Matthew
And
Lillard is just such a gem. He's such a great.
it's hard to believe that Shaggy went from being a murderer in a horror film to being Shaggy of Mystery Incorporated to being a murderer in a horror film, but this time with animatronics.
Yeah, but this time he's purple guy.
Purple guy.
Which I'm honestly surprised we didn't watch the FNAF movie. We should
That was
we should
right.
do
We
that.
talked about doing, but we never ended up
We
doing it.
should do that at some point. But Scream's good. It's a good deconstruction of the horror genre. If you're
Uh,
looking for something a bit more goofy, a bit more funny, it's a good way to go about things.
Scream is not as much of a horror movie as some of the other movies on this list, because that's kind of the point. It's doing this scary, iconic thing. It's Ghostface. Everybody knows Ghostface, or at least most people know Ghostface. It's kind of surprising. But literally, the whole point of the movie is poking fun and taking jabs at horror movies, because unlike, say, The Babadook, unlike The Witch, unlike um, Halloween or anything like that, it's literally just two fucking teenagers that regularly get the shit kicked out of them when they're trying to murder their victims because they suck at their job.
It was really enjoyable. I
It was a
enjoyed
very good film.
the deconstruction of it. Probably an A tier, I'd say.
I'd say a good A. I'd say a high A tier.
Let's see, like right there, maybe smack dab in the middle of A.
I'd give it that.
Alrighty. Moving on to another one of my favorites.
Spencer's favorite.
Yes.
I don't remember much about this movie. I remember I-Man. That is it.
Yeah, Mr. So on Friday, October 24th, we watched Pan's Labyrinth, which I wouldn't necessarily classify as a horror movie, but
The movie was
man,
horrifying aspects,
it
right?
definitely has some horrifying aspects. There's Mitch McConnell as the classic I-Man. Themes of fascism and escapism, which I really appreciate. It's pretty sad. And man, I love the production design. I'm a sucker for really good practical effects and makeup, and between Mr. Mitch McConnell, I-Man, and the Fawn, it's just really, really solid production design, and costume and makeup. I it's hard for me to put into words, but I really love this movie. I just think it's that dark fantasy, and it really exemplifies Guillermo del Toro's style. And I don't know. Other than that, I really love it. Another foreign language film that I think is much better than the other Spanish movies we have on this list.
I honestly don't remember it enough to have a very high opinion of it. I remember pretty much just the eye guy. I don't really remember anything else of it. It was
You have to deal with the Ophelia and her mother move in with the general. Um,
I don't even
who's
remember
doing
that.
like a fascist takeover of things. Um, and again, just heavy themes of fascism and escapism.
See,
And
I understand the themes. That doesn't help me remember the movie
well,
any much
no,
better.
but okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's just not one I remember very much.
All right,
It's just I'm sorry. I'm being honest with you.
no, it's fine.
It's,
You're
I'm not.
wrong, but okay.
I'm not wrong about my memory. I did not say that it was a bad movie. I just don't remember very much of it.
You're wrong. Remember better next time.
You know what? Fuck you. It's negative F tier. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
I will not be swayed on this issue.
I'd put it in A or B. I think it's.
I'd say, again, I watched the thing. I don't remember a damn thing about it. Put it in mid to low B because I just don't remember a damn thing about it.
I will.
B's a fair place of good movies, but I don't have enough of an opinion to say that, oh, it's terrible, or oh, it's the best movie I've ever seen.
If it was just me, I would be putting it in S, but I concede
Yes.
that if you don't remember anything about it, it probably belongs in B. Alrighty. Next up, we
Spencer's
have
favorite movie. It's not actually.
Hellraiser. I did not like this movie.
Hellraiser is an interesting film. It is about the this family who moves into a house that was owned by the family's grandmother. Then she passed away, and Frank, which is the father's brother, was supposedly living there, and it's Hellraiser. If you know Hellraiser,
It's
the
the
franchise, and you think all about Pinhead
Cenobites
and the
and Pinhead,
Cenobites and
yeah.
everything like that. Pinhead is in the movie for 5 minutes, maybe,
Yeah.
which is really like the whole point of
Yeah.
Hellraiser is the lament configuration, which is the box, and Pinhead, and you've got Butterball, who's the big greasy guy, and the Chatterer, and female Cenobite. Yes, that is actually what
Hmm.
she's credited as, but they're like
They're
not.
barely in the movie.
Yeah, they're not really in the movie. Um, Ironically, I think that weird fucking monster with the sausage monster is in
Yeah,
more of the
yeah.
movie than Pinhead.
Yeah, it just, for me, first of all, came out in 1987 and it has not aged well, dude. Like,
It's a good movie for
I'll
being
give it, I
1987.
will give it this. The practical effects on Frank are pretty good. Like, as
Mhm.
he slowly regains more of his flesh, pretty good. But man, the like actual CGI effects with like the lights and shit look god awful. They look so bad. Um Another thing with it is, for me it feels like two different movies slapped into one. The first movie is about the wife trying to bring Frank back, and then the second movie is about the daughter trying to get away from the Cenobites. They do not feel
Mhm.
like one cohesive movie. And it just, I found myself being kind of bored throughout most of it. If there was more of Pinhead and if there was more of any of either Frank or the Cenobites, I would have probably enjoyed it more. But as it is, it just feels really disjointed, and like there's no, like, half the first half of the movie the wife is the main character, and then it completely shifts focus to the daughter and the wife is barely in it for the rest of the movie, and it's just a really jarring shift.
I can agree with that entirely. If they focused, which I'm pretty sure they fixed it considering how many Hellraiser movies there are, they must have fixed it moving on. Is like you go into like the first 2 4 minutes are about the lament configuration and like I don't even think that's Pinhead's monologue, but I think it's a person's monologue and going on talking about it. And then that's thrown away until the man cuts his hand, the father, and then drips blood onto the floor. And then suddenly there's a heart underneath the floor made out of cobwebs, and then that's what starts Frank's regrowth, which leads into the wife being this weird way of, you know, trying to murder men for her rotting
Affair
undead dead,
partner.
yeah, affair partner. um and dealing with that, and then it's the girl finding out about this and throwing the lament configuration out the window,
Yeah.
and that's when it shifts. But it's like such an odd thing to have suddenly.
It's just, it's really weird and just not, I just don't think it's great. And the worst part is like, I'm sure they focus on the Cenobites more in the later movies, but with this first movie, I don't even want to watch the other movies because, like, nothing about this got me remotely interested in the Cenobites. You know, we were talking about lore earlier with Oculus, and this is a movie that would have really benefited from having a bit of a lore drop on. Because all we really know about the Cenobites is they're demons or angels or
I
both
was going to say they
that
come from.
love pain.
We know that they come from hell, and that pain and pleasure is the same thing for them.
Yeah, they're Slanesh demons, but like even then, it's just like if we had gotten a little bit more, I probably would have liked it more. But as it is, it's just really jarring. It's dated and hasn't aged well, and I
We,
really didn't really like it.
if you really want to talk about jarring, there's a homeless looking man. And I say that in the kindest
Oh
way.
god, I
Big
forgot
beard,
about
big
that.
hair, and he follows around the girl the whole movie,
No, not
basically.
even for the whole movie. He shows up in one scene in the pet store, eats some bugs,
No, he shows
disappears.
up before that.
Does he? I never
He
noticed him
does.
showing.
It's when um the pair, him, the love interest guy, and the girl are walking home. He's staring outside of a pair of doors, and the camera does focus on him for a
Oh,
moment.
I missed that.
But first of all, why is he looking at her? We don't get that answer. But the best part is at the end of the movie when they throw the box in the fire, in a fire that they're using to burn a bunch of stuff. He reaches in, picks it up, and turns into a skeletal goddamn dragon and flies away with it.
With no explanation.
Nope, there's no words. I
Like,
believe. Yeah, there's no words. And then after that, we cut to somebody bartering for the box about pleasure beyond your
yeah,
comprehension.
it was just. It felt like they were trying to make 2 or 3 different movies and all slammed it into one, and it just didn't work. And because of that, I honestly think Hellraiser belongs in F tier.
As you said, there must have been the worst part is that there must have been something good about it. Because like I'm a fan of Hellraiser as a franchise, and I like Pinhead, and I think the Cenobites designs are cool. That is the best that I can even try to offer to put it above F.
But even then, like, yeah, their designs are cool, but they're barely in the fucking
I
movie.
know they're in it for
So
5 minutes. That's the worst part. That's why I'm saying barely. That's
I
exactly.
I think it
I'd say put it
belongs
above
in.
the orphanage because at least it's memorable.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
I'm sorry to the orphanage. People like you, and that's fine. But at least the Hellraiser has memorable moments for reasons.
Yeah, just not good reasons. Alrighty. Also on October 25th, we watched Lights Out, which is a movie that I didn't expect to hold up as well as it did. I watched this when it first came out. It's directed by David Sandberg, who also directed the Shazam movies, funnily enough. Um, I believe he's a Swedish
Ugh.
guy. He's some flavor of Scandinavian. And he's great, and I think this movie's really cool. I think its concept is very fun. Um, and it has some pretty good scares with Miss Diana, the Shadow
Mm-hmm.
Monster. Um,
Diana with the mascara.
and we have what was his
Sorry,
name?
Shadow Scary.
Brent, the boyfriend,
Oh yeah, yeah,
being
Brent.
like an actual
A
MVP of the
G.
movie, the G.
Mm-hmm. He
Uh,
wanted a sock. He ended up getting like 2 drawers.
yeah, nice subversion of expectations of he's like this rocker dude, so you expect him to be kind of an asshole, but he's like actually pretty responsible and cares about his girlfriend and stuff. Um, and themes of mental illness and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The mother's sacrifice is pretty cool. I like this movie quite a bit. I think it's really cool.
The mother sacrifices in the kindest of ways, and I don't mean to downplay her sacrifice. Although thinking about it, that's also something I forgot about. Is so one thing is it's very nice of her, but also her medicine would have worked. So that was something I was working for a very long time, and then she stopped taking her medicine, which is what let Diana back.
Mm-hmm.
So why couldn't she just start taking her medicine again?
Well, because that's not how antidepressants and those sorts of medicine work. You have to take them for a while before they start working. And I can say
Well,
this as somebody who is on
I I
antidepressants. And
I,
so
I
when
understand.
Diana
I
is literally getting ready to kill her children,
mhm.
taking her meds is not gonna fix it.
Well, no, I know, not immediately, but my point, like, there's fucking lights going on outside, fucking her obviously doing the committing to the threat kind of thing and making it clear that she's not fucking around. Technically, should have given Diana pause. Second of all, the issue is that it makes that action seem like it's a very valorous thing to do, which is an issue that people had with the It Chapter 2 where they're grown-ups,
Yeah.
which, that's its own issue of taking that action being seen as valorous could be taken the wrong way, which is the only worry that I really have with that, because it's a nice scene. It's showing how much a mother is willing to sacrifice for her children to be safe and so on and so forth. But that I'm just
No,
the action of
I
making
see
it
what you
valorous
mean.
is an issue with it.
But I think this movie, I would put it in A
I'm
tier.
not. Yeah, I'm agreeing. It's a fantastic movie. Put it in 8 here. I just worry about
No,
that one
I
and the.
agree. Where in A tier do we want it?
I say, yeah. I say put it above Scream. Honestly.
Above Scream. I think again in doing research for this movie, Diana wasn't supposed to be a ghost. It was supposed to play much more into the whole mental illness thing. And I think if they had done that, it probably would have bumped it up to an S tier.
Probably it's really funny looking at all these movies. If you commit to X, then it might be better because then you
Yeah.
can actually follow through with the whole plot line.
But like as it is, again, it came out in 2016. I watched it when it first came out. Really enjoyed it. Couldn't sleep because, for reference,
With the lights
I
off.
was 13 when this came out. Could not sleep with the lights off for like a week, so it really affected me psychologically. But man, I was not expecting it to hold. I was expecting I'd watch it and be like, it's okay. But no, we watched it and
It was a good movie.
it was really good. And then
now it's time for Spencer's most controversial opinion.
Oh boy, this is the controversial one. Monday, October 27th, we watched Halloween. I do not like Halloween. I think it is boring. And I will clarify before you crucify me in the comments. I respect Halloween for what it did. It came out in, I believe, 1978. So it's pretty old. And I believe it was like one of the first of its kind. It really pushed the boundaries for what could be showed in movies with like violence and sex and stuff. Like it really pushed those boundaries, and I respect it a lot, and I have a lot of respect for it for what it did at the time. But sadly, I was not born in the 70s. I was born in 2003. So by the time I first watched Halloween, I'd seen a bunch of other horror movies. By the time we watched it here, we'd watched a lot of other horror movies. And I think there are slashers that do what Halloween tries to do better. And on top of that...
But are they older than Halloween? That's the important question with that one.
No, but that's
and the
not...
answer is yes.
That's not the point. Like... First of all, I don't even really like slasher flicks that much as is. I
do like slasher flicks.
But like, even disregarding my own dislike for slasher flicks, there's just other ones that do what Halloween does better. And sure, they owe that to Halloween. That's fine. But with the hindsight of watching this in 2025, I mean, fuck. Outside of that first scene where Michael's a kid, it takes 45 minutes for him to do anything other than follow people around. And then even then, the gore shown is not that gory. Like, there's barely any blood. Like, there's so many better slasher flicks out there that, while yes, they owe their existence to Halloween, do what Halloween does better. And are movies I would enjoy watching more.
I personally enjoy Halloween, and I did very much enjoy the watch. And that may not be because it's overly gory, it's extremely extravagant, but it's what made slasher films. If you enjoy a slasher film, a lot of the credit needs to be given to Halloween to prove that it works, to express that. And for the time, yes, you complain that, oh, it's not very gory. There weren't many super gory movies around that time, I don't think. It's not like watching Alien or something.
And that's why, like, again, I say I respect it for what it did, because it's true. It really pushed the boundaries of what you could show in a movie. Like, with both in terms of gore and with, like, nudity and sex. Like, it pushed the boundaries for that sort of thing.
But that's why I'm saying when you say, "Oh yeah, I could watch a movie that has more gore and more nudity for and enjoy it more because it's older." The problem is, yes, it is newer. It is jumping off the stones that were laid, and you must give this movie at least a decent bit of credit for being those foundations of everything, and at least give it some modicum of enjoyment from the fact that the other movies exist and that you might enjoy them. Because Halloween, yes, takes a long time to set up, but how do you set up this kid's pure evil and not at least try to put in a little bit of suspense? Because this is also a movie that's trying to be the types of horror movies and less of slashers, because it's the first slasher, so it's trying to build up the suspense of where is Michael Myers? He's out. He's somewhere. Oh, somebody taught him to drive a car. Oh God, where could Michael
And
Myers
again,
be?
like I will not discredit what it did, but just because I give it credit and I give it respect doesn't mean I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I still think, as watching it in 2025 in our own little bubble of, again, wasn't born in the 70s. I've seen movies that are not just that have less restrictions than what Halloween did have. It just doesn't work for me. It really doesn't. And like, even then, like with most slashers, like I don't like slasher movies. So the original slasher being laying the groundwork for the slashers that came after means nothing to me because I don't like slasher movies.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the respect that I have for it, for what it did for the genre, I'd say it's a C tier.
I can give C tier. I will concede to C tier.
Put
I
it
just don't
like
think that deserves to be below C tier.
Well, no, and I agree with that. But if it was not as influential as it was, I'll put it this way: if Halloween wasn't the first and wasn't as influential as it was for horror and slasher as genres, it would be much lower for me.
Mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm.
only reason I'll put it in C and not D or F is it's because of the impact it had on the genre.
I can agree with that one.
And I'm sure if people actually watch that is going to be the take, or watch this, that is going to be the take that gets me
Crucified, yes.
crucified. And you know what I have to say to that? I've already been fucking crucified. I died for your fucking sins. I'll do it again.
I did say that you've already done that. All right.
Alrighty, we're down to the final four. Monday, October 27th, we watched Don't Breathe, which has Evil Daredevil, as I describe him.
Yes. It was also another decent movie on your factor.
Mm-hmm. Especially that ending. That I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I can actually talk about what happened because YouTube. But oh
I was gonna
man,
say, well, I was gonna say the ending, and you technically can, where they are trying to hit a plane to California. What he wanted to do on the in between moments
oh
there,
no,
though,
yeah,
that's definitely not.
yeah,
To put it in a way that I think YouTube will be okay with. And spoilers, if you don't want to hear it, then skip ahead like 10 seconds. But basically, the man's daughter died or was killed by a car, and then he kidnapped the girl who killed his daughter to give him a new daughter.
yeah,
That's how I'm gonna put
yeah.
it.
Very gross, very creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Some really, really, really gross imagery with the bodily fluids involved in that is how I will put it.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good time, not a good image. Um but overall, enjoyable movie. I liked it. I'd say probably like B tier. Like it wasn't my favorite,
Yeah,
but
I'd give it B tier.
for what it is, it's good. Does that look decent there above Apostle?
I was gonna say, do you think it was better than Apostle?
Eh, I think I enjoyed
I was gonna
Apostle
say,
more than I enjoyed Don't Breathe.
that's fair.
I'm
I think that's
just
fair placement.
another thing that I'm sure this list somewhat reflects is like I'm more into the horror movies that have some form of supernatural aspect to them, and like supernatural world building. But obviously it depends. But I think Don't Breathe is a very, very good movie, and it does a lot with what it has. Um, and yeah, overall, just really good.
I agree.
Okie dokie. Final three. On Tuesday,
Go.
October 28th, we watched The Conjuring, which is another movie that I have a lot of love for because of my own personal experiences with it as a child. Um, One of the first horror movies I watched. I mean, obviously, it spawned the Conjuring franchise, which is kind of huge. Um,
You.
it
Yeah.
has a very clean depiction of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and that's the true horror of the movie is how good they're presented because in real life they were not great people. But Ed and Lorraine, the characters, I love. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are fantastic, and they have really good chemistry. Um, it's your very classic, haunted house story. Doesn't necessarily do anything too crazy with it, but it uses the cliches of horror very well, I feel.
I can agree with that. It's very. It doesn't fall into. It uses the cliches without falling into them, which can be very hard to do, especially nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, oh, ghost stories, possession's been done to death. But no, this one does it very well, and it's it's a very good film. That's the best. That's the simplest and most in-depth thing I can probably say. It's a very good film. It's one of those cult classic types, and I can understand why it's a cult classic and why it's a oh, here's a movie everybody should watch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd say it was a pretty good movie and very much worth the time investment in it.
Yeah, I would put it in A tier. I'd say,
I put it in A tier.
like right smack dab in the middle of A, especially considering it uh sort of spawned. Whether you
A
hate
whole
it or
franchise.
not, the Conjuring franchise is wildly successful, and
I was.
it owes it to this movie. And I'll be honest, as far as horror franchises go, I have not seen every single Conjuring franchise movie, but I have seen the first three Conjuring, so Conjuring, Conjuring 2, Conjuring Devil Made Me Do It. I've seen
Made me do
A
it.
Devil Made Me Do It. I've seen all three Annabelle movies. I've seen the first Nun movie. I haven't watched the second. And when compared to something like Paranormal Activity or Saw or any of the other like big horror franchises that really really fall off, yes, some of them aren't as good as other entries, but by and large, the Conjuring cinematic universe, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is pretty solid. Like, for being a cinematic universe based off of a horror, based in horror, like it maintains a pretty decent standard of quality throughout all of it. And I think I'm one of the few people who actually prefers the second Conjuring over the first, but the Conjuring one is really, really solid. It's a very, very good movie. Alrighty, next up is The Menu, which we watched on October 29th, which was a Wednesday.
Yes. It was. I personally really enjoyed the movie. This is a movie that I had suggested,
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it
and
as
I
well. It kind of falls into the upgrade area for me where I'm like, is this really a horror movie or is this more of like a suspense thriller? But man, Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy are just fantastic to watch.
the movie is about. To put it very simply, it is a rich versus the poor type movie. Um, where it's the chef who, for some very decent and some very petty reasons, for killing his
Mm-hmm.
guests, which all are very rich individuals,
Mm-hmm.
because we follow Margot, who is a woman of the night, um, who was hired because uh, the restaurant does not do single party tables.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where the big issue comes in because the chef did not plan for Margot, he planned for somebody different. Um, and that's where a big thing is, and it's also why she's the only one who's basically allowed to live, because whereas some people are, say, um, stealing a bunch of money with the financial bros at one table or cheating on their significant other at another, there's an actor there who the only reason why he's being killed is because the chef,
Didn't like him in a movie.
yes, Chef Slowick had his one day off. He went to watch the actor's movie and did not like it
Which is really
because
funny.
it's really funny. What's even funnier is his assistant asking if she can leave. He asked what school she went to. She said Brown. He asked if she had student debts. She said no. And he said, then no, you can't leave.
Then you
Because
die.
he didn't ask, oh, did somebody pay for you? Or if she got some kind of college job or got a scholarship on her own hard work. It
Do
was
you have
just, you don't have student loan debt.
I
You
believe I
die.
believe his exact words, or at least close to his exact words, were "I'm sorry, you're going to die." After
Yes,
hearing the
I believe it
response
was,
of
I'm
yes,
sorry, you're going to die.
that's just it was very kind of darkly funny. Um,
It has moments of levity, which
mhm.
is an important part in, I think, most of these movies. There are spots with moments of levity in, say, Nope, which is one of our A tiers. It's very important that you have certain moments of levity to break from the suspense and the horror of some of them.
Mhm. I would say the menu falls into A tier. I enjoyed it
I
quite a
would
bit.
agree.
I don't think it's better than Paranormal Activity though,
I can agree with that one as well.
as like a horror movie. Um,
Yes.
and that leaves us with our final movie, which we watched yesterday on Halloween night, The Cabin in the
Whoa.
Woods. And this is a fun one because when I watched this, I watched it when I was younger. And back in the day, the way I watched horror movies was very much what's going to scare me, what's going to be the scariest. If it's not scary, I don't like it. If there's humor, I don't like it. Um, and so I didn't like Cabin in the Woods when I first watched it, but rewatching it, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the subversion of expectations, especially with Marty, the stoner, is very fun. Um, I think the whole setup of like these people who are trying to stop the end of the world by sacrificing groups of people to different monsters is really fun. There's good humor and I wouldn't say good scares. There's not really anything like super scary about it, but like good horror suspense aspects of it. Especially with the whole idea of like, as Marty keeps saying, the puppeteers. Um, very very solid movie.
Mhm. It's very much like Scream in the sense of it is a deconstruction of what makes a horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes it rather than here's we're making fun of a horror movie while kind of being a one of the first slasher horror movies flicks. It is a complete deconstruction all the way down to a reason. Which, ironically, thinking about it, why do people make movies? Is it because they want to get out their ideas? Some of them. Is it because they need to feed their higher up power grabbing superiors?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, but it's very fun. Um, if you like horror movies and you're fine with comedy and want to see a movie deconstruct horror movies while having nice homages to other movies, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Great Molesting Tree.
Yeah, can't forget about the
That
Great
is
Molesting Tree.
something specifically written on a board.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be very upsetting if you struck us for that one on YouTube.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, I agree. It was a good deconstruction. Chris Hemsworth once again
one of his.
proving he is the best of the Hemsworths.
Mhm.
Um,
It's like
really,
movie
the
five
the
of his.
only is his fourth or fifth movie right after Thor. It just again proving he's really the only Hemsworth worth noting. Sorry, Liam, you're just not as good as Chris, and you never will be. I'm sorry. I'm still so mad that you're playing Geralt of Rivia. That's really dumb. But it was really good.
I didn't
And
even know that show was still going.
yes, it is. They replaced Henry Cavill with Liam Hemsworth as Geralt of Rivia, which is just I hate that show, but that's a whole other different different
That's why I'm
tangent that
saying I'm
has
surprised that
nothing
show's still going.
nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Mhm.
I feel bad saying it's an A because A is kind of bloated, but I think it honestly deserves it unless you think it belongs in S tier. Because I wouldn't go lower
It's
than A.
because so are we looking at this as a scary horror movie or are we looking at this as a movie? Because as a movie, I think it is a fantastic movie. I think it belongs in S tier because it is a deconstruction of movies themselves and basically the whole honestly movie structure of okay, what villain do you think it's going to be? Okay, what's the archetypes do you think we got to fill? We got to hit these quotas. It's literally breaking down
Mm-hmm.
the movie making structure
Mm-hmm.
and idea into X, Y, and Z. It's a
And
fun breakdown of it.
I know that there have been some other movies on this list that I've docked points because it doesn't truly feel like a horror movie or it's not scary or whatever, but I feel like Cabin in the Woods, or The Cabin in the Woods, I guess, is the only one I can really give a pass on that because of exactly of what you're saying of it is a deconstruction of a movie, and for that I think it belongs in S tier.
It's also not trying to be a horror movie near as much as the others. There are
Mm-hmm.
horror elements because the whole point is it's a not horror movie, a horror
Mm-hmm.
not movie.
Alrighty, do we want to change anything about this or does this look good?
I'm looking back over like, I think we're pretty good unless you have any specific changes.
No, I think this looks good. To recap, we have in S tier Bring Her Back as I think both of our favorite movies, at
I
least,
was gonna say, I think Bring Her Back and
and
Weapons are
Weapons are kind of tied
basically. Mhm.
for being our favorites. Train to Busan and The Cabin in the Woods in S tier. The Babadook, Nope, Lights Out, The Conjuring, Scream, Oculus, Paranormal Activity, and The Menu in A. The Descent, The Vavitch, Pan's Labyrinth, Apostle, Don't Breathe, and Upgrade in B tier. Wreck, Sinister, Halloween, Creep, and As Above, So Below in C tier. Barbarian and Await Further Instructions in D tier, and Hellraiser and The Orphanage in F tier. So that's our final list. Tell us what you think in the comments. As I said at the beginning, if you disagree with us, you're wrong, and you will be shot into the sun.
If you disagree with us, give a better movie suggestion, and then we shall review that. How's that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you have any movies
If you're
you want to
still
see us
wrong,
cover,
then you get
yeah,
shot in the
yeah,
sun.
there we go. That's fair. If there's any
You have a chance to
movies,
say
this is the first video I'm gonna be posting really
in a
ever.
long
Like
time.
I've done other YouTube stuff, but mainly for like school projects and stuff. So if somehow we gain a following from this and you want to see other movie reviews,
Or just other things.
or just other things, we hang out and talk basically every day. So
We play games.
we play games and we watch movies and TV shows all the time. If it wasn't obvious from this, neither of us are actually film critics. We're just like two 20-something-year-old dudes who like watching movies sometimes. So
I,
don't take
I
this
know exactly what we
too
should title
terribly
this.
seriously. But hope you all have a good day and happy Halloween, you
Goodbye, everybody.
motherfuckers.
We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.